Good evening, my sleepy little pillow pals. You're listening to episode 6 of the Sleeping with Heather podcast. I am your host, Heather, and if you're listening, chances are you're ready for bed. You want to relax. You want to get good sleep. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you with that. Before we dive right into tonight's show, I just have some housekeeping items to get out of the way here. Shout out to Randy Parker of Franklin, Virginia. Randy became a sustaining supporter. You can be as cool as Randy and receive a shout out by heading over to anchor.fm/sleepingwithheather and clicking the support button. Sustaining subscribers turn this podcast from a hobby into a side hustle. Want to show your support with zero money? Give me 5 stars in your favorite podcast streaming app and leave a review. Don't know what to say? Write about the strangest dream you've ever had. It doesn't really matter. Reviews help push this podcast up the charts so I can be discovered by other little sleepyheads. Also, I'm now uploading episodes to my YouTube channel. I'll include the link to that in the show notes, but you can find it easily by searching Heather Arrington. And be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell because YouTube is high maintenance like that. What's more, if you like the show and you find it knocks you out faster than Stone Cold Steve Austin, introduce me to a friend, won't you? Pretend we're at a debutante ball and I'm a new Dane and your insomniac best friend came as your +1. You could just say, hey, this is Heather, a lot of people sleep with her. So I think you might also like to sleep with her. I really enjoy sleeping with new people and I look forward to ushering them to dreamland. Finally, if you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on Instagram at sleeping.with.heather. Now, on with the show. Good evening, night listener. You're listening to the Sleeping with Heather podcast, the podcast that puts you to sleep. The time has come to close your eyes, relax, listen to the sound of my voice, and get ready to dream. All right, here we are. I did something a little interesting. I'm always trying to challenge my creativity. I want this to be rather entertaining for you before I work my little sneak attack and get you snoring, right? So what I did was I asked my Facebook friends for story elements to include in tonight's show, and they did not disappoint. From Yellow Snow in New York City to Spider-Man. Episode 6 has something for everyone. If you're listening on YouTube, I'll include a screenshot of the prompt when it enters the story. And I didn't write this on my own. What I did was I took all of these elements, I typed them up on a paper. Oh, sorry. So in addition to my dogs, I just got a cat. I'm not sure if the microphone picks up her meowing. I am not recording this in my studio, by the way. I just said, screw it. I want to be comfortable. It's been too long since I put an episode out, and I'm in my living room recording this on my cell phone mic. Glass of wine. I've got my cell phone in my shirt because I'm reading the script. I'm reading the story. I'm going to scroll. And my hands are busy. And I got to pet a cat on top of that. Anyway, I rescued her from Ben's Branches, located in North Carolina. She came from St. Thomas, and her name is Monkey Girl. She's a black cat. She's cross-eyed, and she's super, super sweet. I didn't even know I was a cat person. And I don't think I've ever met a cat with this much personality and this much sweetness. She's purring all the time. She's just so sweet. Anyway, I didn't write this on my own. I typed up these prompts, and I crinkled them up, and I put them in a jar, and I had my friend Alex go back and forth with me while we were waiting on pizza delivery. And we just, took turns taking the story. I don't know if you've played road trip games, right? Before, parents were putting devices on the back of their headrests. Growing up, we didn't have any of that. So, we would play road trip games, and one game was, all right, I'll start a story, and then when I'm having a hard time coming up with anything else, I'll give it on to you, and then you pick up the story, and we'll just go, and we'll see what we can come up with. So that's what Alex and I did, and I found it interesting because when he was telling his story, what I did was I recorded us when we were just talking and BSing it through, and then I typed it up so that I could share it. Because you don't want to hear Alex read it. Alex, he's nasally. He's not going to put you to sleep like I do, so you're welcome. I'm going to help you through this. But when he was telling the story, it progressed. And then I noticed when it was my turn to add something, the main character got very introspective. It was really funny. I hadn't picked that up until I was re-listening to it. So you'll know when it's me and when it's, Alex's creation. And then at the end of the show, I'll go ahead and I'll read off the names of the people who helped me construct the story. Because I couldn't have done it without them. Like, what would I do? I wouldn't have a story. I'd be reading you the back of a cereal box. And you deserve more than that. So let's have a go at this. All right. Hold on, I need some wine. I just feel all the feels right now. It's September, and I actually started decorating for Halloween, and my living room is just so cozy. I just have a good feeling about recording it this way. And I got spiders on the wall. I've got like a gothic theme going on in my fireplace. This is probably my favorite season. I absolutely love fall because I'm basic like that. But I will say this is one thing I do want you to take away from this conversation before you fall asleep, and don't you ever forget this. Apple flavors are far more superior than pumpkin spice anything. Trust me on this. I was a pumpkin spice fanatic for years because in some ways I'm very basic. But I was at Starbucks the other day, right? They started doing the pumpkin spice lattes. They brought them back August 30th. It's not like it was on my calendar or anything, but but instead of the PSL, I went with the apple crisp macchiato. Oh my God, to die for. Kind of reminded me because I call upstate New York home. I lived in Binghamton, New York for most of my adult life. And one of my favorite things to do around this time of year was go to the apple farm. What was it? Apple Hill, Apple Brothers. I'm not sure. And, I'd pick apples, with whoever I was dating at the time. And then maybe make a pie. I'm not sure. I just went crazy. I used to take my niece apple picking all the time. And coincidentally, today's her 16th birthday. Can't believe it. It was 16 years ago. I sped all the way to the hospital, an hour and a half, just to meet her for the first time. I'd looked forward to that for almost 10 months. So happy birthday to my beautiful, beautiful niece, Julie. I love you very much. All right. With that out of the way, thank you for being so patient with me. Let's get on with the show. Tonight's story begins the way all good bedtime stories do, with once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a young man named Jack. He was an affable 36-year-old who enjoyed listening to vintage vinyl records and watching the streetlights in town change colors. He went to night school to study horticulture with a focus on mushrooms. He liked to think of himself as a mushroom because he was such a fun guy. Get it? Obviously, I wrote that. Jack was very content for a long time until the planet he lived on slowly became inhospitable. Imagine New York City in the early 80s, only worse. One day he was at his favorite vinyl record shop when he happened upon a recruitment poster for the Imperial... Blah, 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 blah. A recruitment poster for the Imperial... Damn it, Heather. Recruitment poster for the Imperial Navy. Obviously, I didn't come up with that part. Space, the final frontier, it read, in large galactic glittery font. Well, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got, Jack thought to himself. Perhaps this would be his chance to pave a new future. So he called the number on the advertisement, and wouldn't you know, the next week he found himself sweeping the floors of a spaceship somewhere between Jupiter and Neptune. He loved it for the most part. And then one early autumn morning, while Jack was mopping the floors, he paused to bask in the gossamer slipstream of sunlight coming through the spaceship window. And although he was very thankful for this opportunity, let's face it, how often is it that regular folks like Jack find themselves sweeping aircrafts in space? He felt a pang of existentialism. And as he thought back on his life and all the roads that led him to this very moment, he wondered, is reality the same for everyone? Is the color green the same color green to everyone else as it is to me? Does wasabi taste the same to others? If a frog croaks in a vacuum, does it make a sound? There's really no way to experience the consciousness of others. And now he was working among a variety of alien races. All there really is to do is wonder. Are these clean or dirty in here? A voice interrupted. Kevin, one of the ship's captains, gestured toward the dishwasher. He was sitting on a park bench. And sure, it seems really odd to be sitting on a park bench in a spaceship in the middle of nowhere, but it was an art installation commissioned by their HR department. Its purpose was to bring comfort to those missing the simple antiquities of planet Earth. Jack didn't answer. Kevin just sat there eating Cheez-Its. He shoved them into his mouth by the handful. Orange crumbs blanketed his uniform and covered the floor around him. Jack was growing impatient. He had just cleaned that area. He approached Kevin to ask him to leave. Hi, sir. I'm glad you're enjoying the bench, but if you don't mind... He paused. Kevin kept staring straight ahead. He obviously didn't want to be bothered. Before Jack could finish, a murder of crows swooped down to peck at the orange morsels. Yes, crows. They were part of the art installation. It made Jack a little sad that crows could do his job. And it was in that instant that he realized he was not being challenged. And just then the ship's resident emotional support pit bull, Leroy, entered. Leroy offered a lot of comfort to the ship's residents, and he was a great compatriot, but there was just one problem. He suffered from ghastly flatulence. His flatulence was so unbearable, the crows abandoned their Cheez-It crumb buffet, leaving Leroy to indulge in this tasty temptation. Wow, Leroy, between your tongue and my broom, we can clean this spaceship in no time, said Jack. But Leroy wasn't hearing it. His allegiance was with Cheez-It crumbs and not camaraderie. Kevin bent down to scratch Leroy behind the ear, and Jack leaned, propped against his broom, to take in the scene. He thought to himself, there must be more to life than sweeping a spaceship, seeing as though crows and a dog took more delight in this job than he did. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with choosing to be a custodian. It's a noble profession, but for Jack, it wasn't worthy of jumping out of bed in the morning. You know, Kevin, if you don't mind me saying so, you appear to be kind of wistful today. Penny for your thoughts? Asked Jack. Kevin replied, I'm reminiscing about Earth, about all those motorcycle rides I enjoyed along the Blue Ridge Parkway before sunset. The way fog rolls in to blanket mountains just before a dark and stormy night. I just miss those days, and here we are, 3 months into a year-long exploration of deep space. All of my favorite memories are like fragments of a broken mirror. That's why I'm so grumpy today. But look, if you need me to move, I can. And by the way, thanks for cleaning my mess. Jack replied, Listen, I get it, and I understand, and I feel you, you know. I too also have memories of Earth that I will miss very dearly, like the rich aroma of a Marco's calzone being delivered to your door. The kind with extra cheese and mushrooms and onions and peppers. But you know what? This longing might seem grand in this very moment, but it's really not that big. It just looks that way. I hear there are pizzerias and Chinese restaurants on other planets. Think of all the alien cuisines you have yet to try. Have you tasted a milkshake from the Milky Way? There are entire universes of delectable dishes before you. How about this? Let's get into the attitude of gratitude and be thankful we understand the deliciousness of a warm Italian calzone, or the cool air against our skin as we serpentine down the tail of the dragon on the Blue Ridge Parkway. The smell of an impending thunderstorm in the distance, beneath a setting sun as we ride into civil twilight. Just look at us, thriving in uncharted waters. It's a journey through the upside down and other stranger things. Let us bask in the novelty of our situation, for we are the pioneers of this brilliant millennia. Jack exclaimed, and just as he did, he remembered a lovely lady back home, and his heart filled with a yearning to text her, but his cell phone provider didn't serve deep space. It's not like he was a real commitment type of dude anyway, but if he was going to eventually find himself in a long-term relationship, it would be with her. There's something about her. She was alluring. She was very tall, and her purple hair smelled of cinnamon. Who wouldn't love that in a lady? One day, he thought, one day I'll look her up and ask her to sit with me on the same park bench where we met, and we'll feed the squirrels together once again. It'll be like old times. And suddenly, the very thought became enough to sustain him. Because it was getting late and Jack had grown sleepy, he retired to his modest quarters where he slept on a simple bed. It wasn't anything fancy. Other than the bed, the room had a small hand sink and a poster of Spider-Man taped to the wall. It was perfect for Jack. It was home. For now. Just as Jack closed his eyes and settled in for a long nap, his alarm clock rang, startling Jack so hard he fell out of bed. He was no longer on a spaceship. In fact, he was right where he fell asleep the night before on New Year's Eve, in his hometown of Hoboken, New Jersey. It dawned on him that he wasn't a custodian upon a spaceship, but a street sweeper operator. And it was not fall at all. In fact, it was early morning, January 1st, in time for him to sweep the christening of the new year from the streets of Times Square. He drove to work and hopped upon his street sweeper in the milky blue light of this January morning, buzzed from New Year's lingering optimism hanging heavily in the air. He hadn't noticed until this morning how yellow snow in New York City takes on a green hue in the blue light of dawn. He felt so lucky to be in this place at this time. He wanted to commemorate this jubilant morning with a 6-inch wiener from his favorite hot dog stand. Sure, it was more of a bacon and eggs type of hour, but how could he resist the savory whiff of street meat? Stopping to eat gave him a chance to reflect on last night's dream. It was so strange, and he couldn't shake the feeling it left. It was one of the weirdest dreams he had had in a while, other than the reoccurring dream he has about being a portly party rental clown named Trisket, who specializes in juggling. In his dream, he's a lousy juggler, and always on a quest for a planet with slightly less gravity. And he knows in his heart that he could be a champion juggler if it weren't for gravity's spiteful grip. If any dream was too good to come true, it would be that one. Oh, how he longed to entertain. He was still a fun guy after all. Just maybe, he thought to himself, as he sat high and proud on his street sweeper like a knight charging into battle. Just maybe, this will be the year all my dreams come true. And as he traversed the city streets, the oscillating brushes beneath him sucking nests of gold streamers like a fat man on a spaghetti dinner, everything made of wood appeared to come back to life. At first it happened very quietly. The buds on the trees began to sprout in the dead of winter, and the old Davenport on the curb waiting for the garbage truck, the one with the wooden frame, it grew a leaf. A book left on a bus stop bench began to grow roots, and those roots formed a mighty fist around the cold metal bench. Then January's icy breath swept the alley, kicking up dormant confetti in its wake. There was so much confetti in the air. It momentarily blocked out the sun, and when it fell down to earth, it hit the ground as petals. Jack was caught in a flowery rain. The sky seemed to be pouring peonies from heaven. He had never witnessed such a ticker-tape parade and understood it to be a sign from his spirit guides that he was, indeed, on the right path. He had this sudden urge to leave the street sweeper where it sat and begin his new life as Trisket, the portly party rental clown. As he hopped down from his metal steed, he heard a yelp in the distance. He searched for the source, wading through the business people in suits on Wall Street. Sure, it was January 1st, but money don't sleep. He heard the yelp again. This time it sounded closer, and as he sifted through the crowd of walking suits, between Porsches and under the black Ferraris, it was the day he realized life was loved by so few and bitter for so many. Armed with his rediscovered passion for entertaining people, he felt wealthier than any of these brokers chasing the dollar on New Year's Day. But what he didn't know lied just around the corner when he turned and heard one more yelp from a sorry-looking street dog begging for a wiener from Jack's favorite hot dog vendor. And he looked just like Leroy, the dog from his dreams. He pulled out his wallet, handed the cashier $50 and said, "We'll take 16 wieners, please. Come on, Leroy, old boy, and be my companion on this journey of self-discovery." They set out to stroll Central Park, his new best friend, Leroy, waddling merrily by his side, when they happened upon an abandoned green bowler hat on a bench. He checked the brim for a name and address, and instead found a note that read, "Don't sweat the petty things, and don't pet the sweaty things. Wear in case of emergency." He was about to put it on his head, but he was afraid it would transport him to another world, and he wouldn't have Leroy by his side. So he told Leroy to sit, and Leroy sat. Then he told Leroy to give him his paw, and Leroy held out his paw and put it in Jack's hand. And then Jack closed his eyes and threw the green bowler hat atop his head. And when he opened his eyes, Leroy was a platypus duck. And he said, wait a minute. This can't be right." So he takes the green bowler hat off and he puts the green bowler hat back on. And all of a sudden, Leroy became a fluffy stick of cotton candy. He and Jack got spooked. He took the green bowler hat off again. He put it back on, and when he did, they were both enveloped in darkness. It was pitch black. Jack heard one croak, but then another, and before he knew it, frogs were falling from the sky and hopping about. Then came the rain. It started as a sprinkle and grew steadier until the duo found themselves in a torrential downpour. Torrents of rain flowed at about 200 gallons a minute, and that's when Jack panicked until he realized, oh, I could take this green bowler hat off and put it back on because this, sir, was indeed an emergency. He closed his eyes, put the hat back on. Now when he opened his eyes, he was in darkness again. All he could make out were the bright red numbers of his alarm clock. 6:45 a.m. it read. He felt a slimy, long pit bull tongue up the side of his head. He turned, and of course it was his trusty dog, Leroy. It was storming so hard outside. The windows began to rattle. Jack had to use the bathroom. But where was it? Where was he? He had never been here before. This room smelled of old wood, and the furniture was very old. And as he left his room, he was surprised to find a bear asleep just outside his door. And the bear's name was Jimmy. They're friends, you know. And he's like, I'm Jimmy. I'm the faithful bear who sleeps by the door. Remember? I live here rent-free, and my only job is to sleep outside your door to protect you from ghosts who haunt this Victorian home. Then Jack said, You seem like you need to go back to bed. I've got this. And I really appreciate you guarding my door at night. Please, I'm good. And you just rest your little bear sleepy head on the mat right there. And you know what? Before he could say anything else, the bear began to snore, and the snoring was so deep and relaxing. And before he knew it, the bear was out again. He went back to sleep just like Jack had instructed. And Jack, having to pee with the velocity of, torrents of 200 buckets a minute, he hobbled down the stairs. He flipped the light switch on, and the light was not working. But luckily, he had his cell phone on him. He fished in his pajama pockets for it, pulled it out and turned the flashlight on, started walking down the stairs. And as he descended into the living room, he noticed how beautiful the blue light of dawn flooded this old Victorian house. And it being springtime at all, he could smell the old wood permeating in the fresh, life-giving air. But I must interrupt this story with a few concerns. First of all, Jimmy the bear was hired to protect Jack, but he just falls asleep right in the middle of a conversation. What's up with that? 1, it's a medical concern. 2, it's a security concern. But to his credit, he was up all night, kind of guarding the door, and it being dawn, it's like his turn to go to bed, So he was sleepy. And what were the hours he was hired to work anyway? Jack is a wild card. Jack is getting older, and sometimes he finds he only needs 4 hours of sleep. But other times he finds he's doing a lot of errands, so he requires more like 6 to 8 hours. And the bear has to be very flexible, which is not easy for a bear to do. They usually hibernate through the winter. And here is this trusty, sleepy bear by his door, adjusting his schedule to suit Jack's needs. Anyway, Jack makes his way to the bathroom to pee, and he pulls out his unit, and he stands there, and he stands there, and he stands there. And he just feels like a lot of people are listening to this very moment in his life. And he becomes a little shy, and he just can't pee. Anyway, finally, he pees, and he's very pleased with himself. He goes upstairs and kind of nudges the little bear, to wake him up so he can guard from God knows what is hunting people in their sleep in this world. He gets in bed and lays his head against the coolest side of the pillow. It's very early morning. He lay there wrestling with whether or not he should get up and interact with the world. So he lies there awake, thinking about his dreams, about the spaceship, about being a street sweeper operator, longing to be a portly party rental clown. And as he's lying awake, thinking of all these crazy dreams in such detail, he looks out the window and sees an old woman. And he knows exactly who that woman is. Like he might have caught her in the hallway a time or two. But it turns out she's the old woman that feeds the birds on the park bench, who dresses in faded gowns. But what is she doing here early in the morning? He tells Jimmy the bear about the old lady outside, and he asks him to check her out. And from his bedroom window, he sees the bear approach the old lady, but he can't hear what they're saying. He just sees Jimmy's squishy mouth moving and the old lady gesturing and throwing peanuts out for birds and squirrels. And then the old lady pulls out a mirror. Because as it turns out, she's a witch, and she's consulting her magic mirror about the situation. Because it's a magical world after all, and this is totally normal. And the magic mirror tells her that, listen, this house is not the house you're looking for. And so she's excusing herself to the bear, and the bear walks away with his chest out, all proud and puffing like, you know, everybody's safe. I did a good job. And he goes back upstairs because he's very sleepy. And when he went upstairs, all tired and ready to go to bed, Jack asked, so what happened? What was that all about? And Jimmy said, oh well, she pulled out a magic mirror, but I think it was a cell phone. She could press it and it could show her other locations, or maps rather. I don't know, Jack. I mean, have you ever used one of those? It's like it's this app that you can download on your iPhone or Android device. And anyway, you can pretty much get to anywhere you're going because you can choose any area in the whole world. And every road leads to another road. And if you think about it, about the way in which way leads to way, it's kind of a modern day allegory of a cave. You know, some people can't see beyond their screens, whether it's their window screen as they peer out upon the landscape, the vast virgin prairie, waiting to be discovered, or on their cell phone screen, on the Google apps, unaware of the endless adventure before them. If only they could just look up. And if only we could banish our reliance on screens, how much clearer our vision would be. Jack looked at this bear. He was very intelligent for 6:45 in the morning. The coffee hadn't been made. So he was very impressed that this bear was able to articulate himself so well. And he said, you know what, bear? Please forgive me. You know, I've been sort of treating you like a servant. It's not fair that you sleep outside the door and guard me. Come here and snuggle me in bed as we both fall back to sleep. And just as they did, Jack put his head on the bear's chest and he could hear his heartbeat and the beast's rhythmic, deep breathing. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm not sure if you can pick this up, but Monkey Girl has decided to eat the dog's food. And so she's chomping with her tiny little cute baby teeth. I'll try to edit that out. Hopefully it doesn't pick up, because editing is a pain in the neck, and I like to do it as little as possible. Anyway, where was I? He had his head on Jimmy's chest, listening to his heartbeat and his sweet little bear whispery snores. Breathing in and out, and in and out. Leroy and Jimmy's sweet little snores put Jack back in a slumber. And when he awoke, or rather is it when he woke? I don't know. You would think English was my first language, but I really don't know what I'm doing half the time. When he opened his eyes, he was a young boy again, grasping his sweet teddy bear, and Leroy nestled at the back of his knees. A child's imagination is incredibly vivid. It's probably why he's having such weird dreams. The sun was rising and he hobbled downstairs with his teddy bear, Leroy merrily waddling close behind, and he joined his parents at the breakfast table. They were having French toast and turkey bacon because his mother had high cholesterol and was tired of Cheerios every morning. And by the way, I want you to know that I called my friend Tim the other day. He was in the middle of eating a bowl of Cheerios with sugar on it. He's like 53. Who does that? It was Cheerios, almond milk, and I imagine a heaping spoonful or two of sugar. I'm not trying to judge. To his credit, he looks good. He's got nice teeth. But who puts sugar on their Cheerios at 53? If you do, tweet at me, message me. I gotta know. I don't do that. I did that when I was 5. Anyway, Jack's mom was getting tired of Cheerios every morning and longed for the sweet, savory deliciousness of syrupy French toast and savory turkey bacon. Kind of reminded Jack of that savory street meat in that dream in which he was a street sweep operator. Anyway, they sat around the table, Jack's father with his crumpled newspaper in his hand, Mother with a skillet full of pancakes. Jack excitedly told them about his time as a janitor on the spaceship and about his time as a street sweeper operator in New York City on New Year's Day, and about the sweet bear who kept him safe by sleeping outside his bedroom door. And as he told that story, he gestured to his teddy bear, and his father looked over his newspaper and said to sweet little Jack, "You don't say." The end. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. I'm going to read off the list of people who gave me elements for tonight's story. I'll read their name and the story element they gave me. And just for fun, I'll give a description of each person. It may or may not be true. That's for you to decide. First up, and I'll do it in order of who responded to the Facebook first. So first we have Cindy, and her story element was Foggy Mountain, and she provided a GIF. Now, something you need to know about Cindy, she works at Build-A-Bear. Yeah, and her job specifically is giving out the hearts that go into the bear that you build. She's very passionate about her job. She hasn't missed a single day in 36 years, which is kind of crazy because she, honest to God, she looks like she's 36 years old. Actually, she looks younger than that. All right, let's put it this way. I'm 38, and I think she looks younger than me. Anyway, Cindy's got a heart of gold. We actually had another podcast together, but I can't really talk about it because she was kind of anonymous in it, and I want to respect that. So you may never know what that podcast was. And then I have Rana, I think I said that right. And his story element was a broken mirror. And the thing you need to know about Rana is that his job is really strange. So like, he tests banks, the bank security, as a bank robber, but on purpose. So like, you know how there are fire drills, but there's never actually a fire? He's hired to be a bank robber, but he doesn't actually rob the bank. He just tests how the tellers handle the situation and if they follow the proper procedures and that sort of thing. It's really the most unique job I had ever heard of, which is funny because he'd always thought he'd become a plumber. His parents, sent him to plumber school. But yeah, who knew? He goes around getting paid to rob banks. It's so weird. And then it's my friend Chad, and his story element was long-term relationship. Yeah, Chad is one of a kind. I don't need to remind you that the English language is hard for me sometimes, even though it's my only language. But yeah, something about Chad that may or may not be true. That's not for me to tell you. Chad is an amazing photographer. He posts his work all the time. And I'm always so impressed. He gets a lot of great captures, a lot of shots, a lot of beautiful animals in their natural habitat and doing their natural animal stuff. Yeah, I met him through a hiking meetup group. No, that's not it. I actually met him through sort of. It's like a hiking thing I put together, and he messaged me about it, and then we just kind of became friends. It's cool. All right, Peggy, my friend, she just got a new dog, and she really, really, really loves animals. And her elements, she had a couple here. Number one, it was not what it seems. And then the other one, she volunteered. I just scrolled down. Oh, here it is. It's really not that big. It just looks that way. Man, she's really in love with her husband, Bill. I'll say that. Yeah. And she moderates a Facebook page dedicated to animals and cute animal videos. She's like super, super duper loving the animals. And then my friend Alden, I think he had more than one here. One thing I gotta say about Alden, he is incredibly, wait a minute, for some reason, I feel like I've been calling him Ruben the last few times I saw him, which isn't his first name. Wow, I'm an idiot. Anyway, Alden is one of the most creative people I've ever met in real life. I have a lot of online internet friends who are intelligent, very brilliant. Alden, though, is somebody I've met in real life who does not disappoint. He is just as fascinating and effervescent, if not more so. Let me tell you, he is an artist. You should look him up. Fat Daddy Art. I'm screwing that up. I'm really sorry, Alden. He's amazing. He's an actor too. He's a really great actor. I've seen him locally here. And also, he's a baker. He bakes like really cool desserts, and he decorates them really well. He's a very interesting person. I think he's really wonderful. And then there's Philip, who takes the cake. I have to say, out of all of the story elements I was given, a portly party rental clown named Trisket was definitely my favorite. It just made me laugh out loud, and I just thought, oh, how out of left field that was. It was really funny. I like that. Philip's good people. Oh, what does Philip do for a living? Well, you know the little hard pieces at the end of shoelaces? I think they're called agates. He invented those. So he actually doesn't work for a living. He's very, very wealthy. Imagine, he just sold the patent to the agates, and that's how he makes his money. He sits high on the hog. Good for you, Philip. And then my friend Omar volunteered, don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things, which is funny because I hadn't heard that version. I had heard I don't sweat the petty things. I just pet the sweaty things. But what does Omar do? Omar has a very important job here in the South. He is the guy in charge of throwing down the hockey puck at every hockey game. Doesn't matter which team. He is hired professionally to travel from hockey game to hockey game and throw the puck down. It's really weird. I don't know why Omar has been appointed this very dubious distinction, but he has. All right. I don't even know if he likes hockey. I don't know if he likes his job. Maybe he wants to be a janitor on a spaceship. I mean, who doesn't, right? Shannon, my friend Shannon, volunteered the prompt, an old woman feeding birds on a park bench, dressed in a faded gown. And I swear to God, Shannon is out to give you nightmares. Because why would you volunteer that? Obviously, she's talking about a ghost. So, like, obviously, the old woman feeding birds on a park bench, dressed in a faded gown. Like, if you picture that in your mind's eye, the woman is kind of powdery and translucent. Because, come on, what old lady wears faded gowns? Shannon wants to give you nightmares. Stay away from Shannon. Oh, what does Shannon do for a living? I forget. Let me see here. Shannon, right. Shannon's actually, oh crap. I don't know why I'm having a hard time with this. Shannon, she loves building, terrariums. And what she does is she hosts a sip and paint night once in a while where people go to her house and and they drink wine by the fireplace, and they also build terrariums. Apparently she's a terrarium expert. It's really interesting. And then my friend Russell, I wasn't going to give the last names, never mind. My friend Russell, his story prompt was a platypus duck. Now, Russell, I will say, is an amazing human being. We actually just had a little heart-to-heart on Facebook Messenger the other day. I was going through a rough time, and he's just a very, very, very wise human being, very kind person, a very good listener. very, very, you know what Russell did? Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. Russell actually is a very good artist. He sells his paintings. But I'm not going to tell you, I didn't want to get into what he does for a living, because I actually have insight into what he did in a past life. And what he did is he was a knight, and he always fought on the side of good. He, was always at the center of battle, and he fought many beautiful battles, and he won, and he was always on the side of justice, because he's a very brave knight. Oh, here's Alden again. His other prompt. Is reality the same for everybody? Same for everyone, I mean? And then we have Cody's, and his prompt was Spider-Man, which is kind of ironic. And I don't know if I'm using ironic correctly. I don't know. At least I'm not saying literally, or figuratively. But you know why Cody picked Spider-Man? Oh, I hope I didn't give his last name. I'll delete it out. Cody picked Spider-Man because he actually is a Spider-Man impersonator on the Santa Monica Pier in California. And he hangs out all day long, waiting for tourists to pose with him, and, they throw him a few dollars, and that's what he is. He's a professional Spider-Man. And then Todd, his prompt was a modern-day allegory of a cave, so many can't see beyond their screens. Todd is a firefighter. That's right. He's always the first one in. And he loves fighting fires, don't get me wrong. But his favorite calls are the ones for the cat in the tree. I know that sounds really stereotypical, but Todd is a sucker for rescuing cats caught too high up in trees. It's really weird. And then my friend David, his story element was a dark and stormy night. Okay, so like my friend Shannon, Dave is out to give you nightmares, okay? Dark and stormy night. Now, David, we're trying to put people to sleep. But to David's credit, a dark and stormy night can be very, very relaxing. It could be, yeah. Actually, I'm actually getting really tired just thinking about dark and stormy nights. The one thing you need to know about my friend David is he's a very, very kind person. And he actually makes the best calzones in America. And I'm not joking about that. He's a really good pizza maker. Pizza is in his blood and also in his belly. He comes from a long line of pizza makers. And then we have my cousin Joyce, and her element was a thunderstorm on the Blue Ridge Parkway before the sun sets, with fog rolling in just over your head, all while on your motorcycle. It figures Joyce would come up with something so detailed and elaborate. She's Irish, and it's really cute because she's still, she's been, I don't know, what is she, like second generation American from Ireland? Our great I don't even know what the math is. She and I actually met on Ancestry.com. So I've not ever met her in person, but we've been Facebook friends and we've talked on the phone. One thing I gotta say about Joyce is, holy Hannah, I have never known anyone to be so in love with their significant other. She's happily married, and is being happily married. She's doing a very good job at it. Someone else who's very happily married is my friend Jaden. She and her husband just celebrated their 79th wedding anniversary the other day, which is really weird because she's young and beautiful looking, but she's British, and the British, they age very, very, very slowly. And her story prompt was a green bowler hat left behind on a park bench with a label inside that says, "Wear in case of emergency." Jaden, believe it or not, is a professional ghost hunter. And she's very unsuspecting. That's how she captures a lot of ghosts. Sorry. Alright, and then my friend Jeff, he actually is a professional voiceover artist. And he gets gigs and he knows the business. He's really good at his job. His story prompt was the cool side of the pillow. He says, I fought with my pillow last night to try and get it in just the right position. I think it's permanently mangled. I'm glad it can't talk. When Jeff isn't being a professional voice actor, he runs an underground fight club, but it's not like the movie. It's a pillow fight club. It's highly illegal, so I'm hoping everyone listening is asleep right now, because I don't want Jeff to get in trouble. And my friend Travis said his prompt was, the day I realized life was loved by so few and bitter for so many. Travis is an internationally well-known motivational speaker. He has traveled the circuit with Tony Robbins. He's actually also Tony Robbins' golf caddy. Yeah, he'll follow him around on the golf cart. It's kind of weird. I've never been much for golf. I don't really understand the draw. But, motivational speaking and golfing, that's what really does it for Travis. So that's cool. My friend Joanna offered yellow snow in New York City. Joanna is a professional mermaid. She works at the local aquarium where she dresses up as a mermaid and she dives into the aquarium and she feeds the very, very, very large fish. She'll leave lettuce in their tank and you can watch the fish pick at it. She's very good at what she does. She's a very convincing mermaid. Oh, sorry. Oh my. And then my friend James, he said that I should write fractured fairy tales. Something that turned well-known children's stories for humor. James is... Alright, I told James I wouldn't give it away, but I think it's okay. I don't think he would mind. James is actually Zorro. Yes, Zorro. the masked hero, but you're probably sleeping and you're not gonna even know or remember this tomorrow. And my friend dogs that frequently fart. My own comes to mind. Yeah, I actually don't know if this is true or not. Mostly I've been, going off cuff. Hold on, I'm getting a blanket. Afraid I'm gonna fall asleep, goodness. Doug is the branch manager at the local bank, and he's very well known for his low subprime mortgage lending rates. He really knows everything about money. I would not play this guy in a game of Monopoly. He's very dangerous. He knows too much. My friend Chris, let's see. Chris. Oh, I said I wouldn't give the last name. I'll edit that out. Chris says, a man and his dog on a journey of self-discovery encounters. Chris is actually a professional fox wrestling trainer. He trains foxes to wrestle and has his own pay-per-view channel. Just kidding, foxes don't wrestle, they box like kangaroos, and Chris teaches them everything they know. My friend Corey offered a journey through the upside down and other stranger things. Now, Corey actually is a very well sought after club DJ. And I may just be saying that because it looks like, okay, yeah, he's got these like really cool looking sunglasses in his profile picture. And I've actually never met him in real life. But he looks like someone who has a ton of swagger. Don't ask me why. And then my friend Joe, I said I wouldn't give last names. My friend Joe, his story prompt was a juggler traveling through space to find a planet with slightly lower gravity. Joe is actually a really great juggler. He can do all kinds of juggling, and I'm actually not even making this up. He's really that good. And he does contact juggling, and he does Joe is really, really intelligent. He's the kind of people who is good at math and also really good at juggling. Oh, excuse me. Alright, and then my friend Bobby, his prompt was, you don't say. Bobby is a librarian. I know that's really lame. I wanted to shoot harder on that one because Bobby is really cool. But he just has like these glasses on the top of his forehead in his profile picture. So I just think that like librarian is perfect for him. I'm sorry, Bobby. And then my friend Patsy, she offered 2 really great prompts and I was able to use both of them. The first one was faithful bear who slept by the door. And the other one was the water came down in torrents, flowing at about 200 gallons a minute. My goodness, this is making me very sleepy. Patsy is a court stenographer, and she has to speak into one of those devices so that they transcribe what she's saying. Not that she can't type fast enough to handle, it live, but it's just more convenient to do the talky thing through the holes. Oh no, I'm starting to fall asleep because I just didn't get enough sleep. Alright, tomorrow I'll do Kevin walk in. Oh yeah, I've got a few people left. I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, here we are. It is the next day. I couldn't handle getting through the prom shout-outs last night. I just put myself to bed. I was really tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before. So where was I? I think I left off at Patsy. And my friend Steph. Oh, no, my belly just rumbled. My friend Steph, who's an actual artist, she wrote, I'm probably too late to join the inspo party, but wanted to say that the last episode did help me fall asleep the other night. I feel like your voice would be perfect for the Oracle in a fantasy video game. That's really great, actually. I like that. And thank you, Steph. I am sort of an oracle, I would consider. I have really strong intuition, and I creep myself out sometimes. And then we have Kevin, and his story element was a man on a bench eating Cheez-Its and doesn't want to be bothered. But alas, people bother him, even the birds. I guess in the story, the birds didn't bother him. I may have messed that up. Kevin works for Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, and he's in charge of making sure no one touches the wax replicas, the wax statues, and he's very quick on the draw. He will yell at you if you get within centimeters of the statues, especially the one of Bill Clinton. I don't know why he's particularly protective of that statue. It's kind of weird. And then my friend Christopher, he writes, a man has been feeding the squirrels in his backyard for some time, throwing out peanuts in the morning and filling trays with nuts. One morning, a squirrel walks up to him, peanut in hand, and amazingly speaks to thank him for all the food he shares, and how the squirrels just wanted him to know they appreciated his efforts. This leads into a philosophical conversation, about our connectedness to each other, the meaning of being helpful and generous to others, even if they are different from ourselves. The joy of helping ease the burdens of others, and the importance of letting people know the impact you make on their life. I like that. That's really sweet. I used some of those elements, but that's a whole story on its own. I like it. And what does Christopher do for a living? Christopher is some stories.